We're almost done with Batman, and we've reached my absolute favorite episode of this series. Things can always change as the years go on, but Perchance to Dream, in my opinion, is not only the best episode of this show, it's one of the best Batman stories ever told. I hold it in extremely high regard. When I think back to some of my favorite pieces of Batman media, period, this episode ranks high on the list. Pound for pound, when I compare it to comics like The Killing Joke or The Dark Knight Returns, or live-action movies like The Dark Knight or Batman 89, it's right up there with them. Obviously, 22 minutes isn't enough time to go nearly as deep as those other stories went, but I think getting as much as we did in this limited format makes the legend of this episode even greater. Batman chases down a couple thugs into a warehouse when an unknown device falls on him. He immediately awakens at home in Wayne Manor, but instantly sees that everything is different. His parents are alive, he's engaged to Selina Kyle, and another person is swinging around Gotham as Batman. He seeks help from his friend Dr. Leslie Tompkins, who tells him his memories as the Dark Knight and all the trauma he went through are simply delusions. This Bruce Wayne has led a charmed, leisurely existence, and the thought is his mind is compensating for everything being handed to him his whole life. Bruce does his best to accept this reality, but slowly, things keep popping up to suggest what he's seeing isn't all it's cracked up to be. If you haven't seen this episode, it's your duty as a Batman fan to check it out before I go into my breakdown here. That's right, watch it first before viewing the rest of this video. This is your spoiler warning. Now, if you're still here, you already know the big twist or just totally ignored my warning, but either way, we have to talk about the big reveals in this episode. By the end, we see this fantasy life Bruce has been trapped in is a scheme of the Mad Hatter and his dream machine. The clues were dropped throughout the whole episode, from the Hatter's theme being played under the title card to more subtle musical cues surrounding Bruce's time in the dream world. This all creates a rewarding, rewatchable experience. Even after Batman escapes and wakes up, that scene with Hatter is filled with emotion from both sides, and another example of why he's Batman's most underrated villain.
Why? You, of all people, have the gall to ask me that? You ruined my life!
The vocal performances from everyone involved were outstanding, but Conroy just nailed Bruce's confusion, desperation, and anger. He's the best Batman for a reason, and it's on display in full force in Perchance to Dream.
What if you're wrong? Then I'll see you in your nightmares.
Chills. Conroy himself has said on several occasions that this is his favorite episode, and I think we can see why. He even got to voice Thomas Wayne for a few scenes when Bruce interacts with his parents.
Son, you sound upset. Is something the matter?
This story puts Bruce through the ringer, and in doing so, creates some of the most heartbreaking moments in this series. After talking with Leslie Tompkins, Bruce is convinced that what he thinks is his real life was just a delusion. He actually buys into it for a bit, and his reaction of relief is tragic.
The nightmare is over. You certainly seem like your old self again, Bruce. I've never felt better in my life, sir. My life is a dream, Alfred. The best dream anyone ever had.
Shirley Walker plays this light, happy version of the Batman theme here, and it just rips your heart out. We as the audience know there's something wrong, and this can't be real, but seeing Bruce so happy with what he believes is the perfect life hurts us, because we know this simple, quiet paradise is about to be shattered. When Bruce tries to read the newspaper, the letters are all jumbled. Nothing makes sense. He opens up a few books and the same thing happens. This is the main clue that leads him to realize what's really going on.
It's impossible to read something in a dream.
We see this again at the entrance to the cemetery, and there was another clue dropped earlier when a jewelry store is robbed. Although Wayne Enterprises is clearly spelled out in the company's building, and those initials are legibly on the outside as well. You can pass that off as Bruce being very familiar with his name, or the production team cheated a little bit to try and fool the audience for a while longer. Either way, this was a great method to show how off the world around Bruce really was.
No. You're a lie. It's all a lie.
This may be everything he always wanted, but the mere existence of Batman in this world suggests that even when he wants to accept a better life for himself, the dark truth of who Bruce truly is will never leave him. And eventually, he has no choice but to confront himself. That whole climactic scene in the church tower is one for the ages.
Here I am!
I've been waiting for you!
Their battle, with rain and lightning setting the mood and an incredible score highlighting the emotion, hits us from every angle just before the big reveal.
The Mad Hatter.
Are you the dreamer or merely part of someone's dream?
This isn't some silly storybook!
You have love, wealth, a family, all you ever wanted.
No! I won't live a lie, no matter how attractive you make it.
The only way out is the unthinkable. And airing on Fox Kids, they couldn't show Bruce's dream suicide in full. Instead, they were very clever with what was on screen, and it made for something just as effective. If you want to poke a hole in any part of the episode, maybe you could point out that Mad Hatter could have just killed Batman after he was knocked out, or at least unmasked him. He had already ordered his drones to kill Batman in Mad as a Hatter, and there's not really an explanation given as to why he didn't just take the mask off there.
I was willing to give you whatever life you wanted, just to keep you out of mine!
While the animation here is still pretty good, the Dong Yang Company's efforts aren't quite on par with some of the best looking installments of the show. It's not exactly a Spectrum or TMS episode, so I guess it's not 100% perfect, but who cares? The main narrative here was on another level. It may be loosely based on Detective Comics number 633 titled Identity Crisis, but that is unconfirmed. This episode's story is credited to Lauren Bright and Michael Reeves, with novelist Joe R. Lansdale writing the teleplay. Transcendent work from all involved who brought this one to life. It's worth noting that Perchance to Dream is derived from Hamlet's To Be or Not to Be soliloquy by William Shakespeare. It's also the name of a Twilight Zone episode, 3 novels, a couple songs, and a stage musical, among other things. But when I hear that phrase, it always makes me think of my favorite episode of one of my favorite shows about one of my very favorite fictional characters. And now, to sleep. Perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub.
The stuff that dreams are made of.